Turkey has sent reinforcements to its border with Syria after the United States ordered its troops to withdraw from the Arab country. Reports say a military convoy has been deployed to Turkey's Kilis province. Parts of the convoy have reportedly entered northern Syria. Ankara says it'll deploy its forces to Jarabulus and Manbij in Syria. The two Syrian cities are held by Kurdish YPG militants. Turkey considers those militants terrorists and has pledged to eliminate them. The YPG was backed by U.S. forces. Joining me now from Washington, D.C. on the phone is Michael Springman, who's a former U.S. diplomat. Mr. Springman, these YPG that Ankara is calling terrorists and has promised to purge are the same Kurdish forces who helped U.S. in a so-called war on ISIS or ISIL or Daesh in Syria. What's going to happen to those?
Well, I think that the Turks will push on to do as much damage to the Kurdish forces as they possibly can. Certainly they've been brutally repressing the Kurds in Turkey for the past century, and it seems to be increasing. And I think they will be able to use the U.S. withdrawal from Syria, if in fact it ever takes place, as another opportunity to move against the Turks in Syria. To move against the Kurds in Syria, and if nothing else, to possibly take a chunk of Syrian territory in the process, which they've long coveted along their borders. So it doesn't look good, and the whole thing, this resolution of the whole Syrian issue is simply to remove all forces from the country, Israeli, American, Russian, and Turkish, and whoever else is in there. So that the Syrians will be able to rebuild a destroyed country, and they will need a lot of help from outside, and it will be far more beneficial to the countries giving help and to the Syrians themselves in this constant state of warfare, where one side pulls soldiers out supposedly and another side moves soldiers in. This is not a good situation. And it inflames the Kurds in Turkey, the Kurds in Syria, the Kurds in Iraq, and the Kurds in Iran. So it's, I think sometimes the American goal is to create a unified yet not unified Kurdish state that will be in perpetual state of war against countries the United States is opposed to. So it's not a good thing.
So, Spring, in the first place, I forgot to ask you, is this not considered an aggression against Syria, because it's inside Syrian soil, and then another country is taking its forces, deploying it all the way inside Syrian soil to try to stage a military operation there?
No, exactly right. The Syrians have invited the Russians in for help, and the Syrians have invited the Iranians in for help, and nobody else has been invited. And yet you got the Turks in there, the Americans in there, the French in there, the British in there, and the Israelis in there, and they think it's a free fire zone, and it's just beyond belief that the United Nations, which prides itself on restoring peace and unity to the world after the destruction of the Second World War, acquiesces in this.
Okay, thank you for that. That was Michael Springman, former U.S. diplomat, who joined us from Washington, D.C.